dear fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Today I'm making my first speech, and I was quite eager to talk about global degradation of ecological systems, psychological root causes of teens' misbehavior, or particularities of Central Asian cuisine, but I was given to understand that that's my first speech and I must crush some ice and I must speak about myself. That's why I decided to talk about my relationships. Lifelong relationships in which I was engaged from very young ages, my relationships with languages. More than 35 years ago, I spoke my first words in Russian, and we still are together. That's language in which I said mom to my mother. That's a language with which I could play. That's a language I could ask to deliver a message to a nice girl, and he will work. I tested this. That's a language I could use for swearing and cursing and for praising and blessing. Basically, it's me in a mirror. It's my alter ego. Next language I met was French. I was quite young. It was six. And French was, it was like nice girl, smiley, polite, white dress, very much princess-like. We met twice a week. We had a great time together. We read books, maybe read some poems, but it was one part. Maybe I was too shy, maybe she was too princess-like, but I simply cannot support her. I know grammar perfectly. I could tell poems, I could read books, I could write essays, but I simply cannot talk with her. Soon our ways departed, and I still meeting her from time to time, and I could say her salam, de magnifique, ma chère amie, and that's all the things I keep from my childhood meetings. Next was English, and it was completely different character, completely different relationships. I barely know anything about grammar and stuff like that. I'm still mixing adverbs and adjectives. But one thing I could do in English, I could talk. And I talked. And since that time, I have very good relationships with my body in English. We have kind of joyful, funny, very interesting relationships. And sometimes we go in uncommon way. And I even invented one word in English. I must be under very heavy German influence when I invented this word, and it was word unmisoverestimatable. Unmisoverestimatable. That's a thing which is so big that you cannot mistakenly overestimate it. Well, it's follow standard English grammar, but it was a little bit uncommon. And we once used it with my body English. Our team was under great pressure and we have to deliver one document. When we sit down, we find out that our common impulse is something like 80 to 90 pages long, which is a little bit far from 15-page consistent document we're supposed to deliver at 5 p.m. this day. And our editor took the things too seriously. She started rushing through the text and giving us 1 minute to discuss one paragraph. You don't like no agreement, cut it out. It was like a bulldozer on full steam running ahead. And somewhere in the middle of text, she ran over this overestimatable word. Bang, clap, crash. Bulldozer stopped and asked for explanation. What this bloody thing stayed for? I explained. And she was kind of crashed because she simply cannot cut it out. It was understandable. But she cannot simply keep it in because it was very uncommon English. So she calmed down and we calmly delivered paper 5. Bam, it's closed. Next was a bunch of Slavic languages, and it was quite funny bunch of different distant relatives, sometimes quite noisy, and sometimes quite playing tricks with you. And most new my relationships are with Slovak language. And to add to this constantly changing meaning of the words in Slavic languages, Slovak language brought me some phonetic difficulties. tongue twist, the most famous tongue twister in Slovak is Trišperský. It's a sentence which is without vowels completely. And it's quite tough exercise for the guy who's coming from the country, which tongue twister is a sentence of vowels only. Y-I-O-I-A. Guys, our life is a constant meetings and meetings. And I'm not particularly sure which language I will meet next and what kind of relationship it will be. But one thing I'm completely sure. I have many new encounters and many new meetings ahead. Thank you very much.